I'm Augustus. I'm traveling in the United States to listen to everyday Americans and tell them about my candidacy for President of the U.S. in 2028. I'm here in Cheyenne, Wyoming, where the high plains roll out forever under a massive sky, and the magic city of the plains stands strong against the legendary frontier wind. This is the 25th capital of my 50 plus 1 capitals tour. I am halfway through the tour. My plan seems obvious and necessary to me, but for other presidential candidates, it could be considered unnecessary and maybe even weird. The plan is to visit every capital in this country over the course of about 60 days. Not to give motivational speeches, but to listen. I'm here to hear about skyrocketing property taxes that are making it hard for folks to keep their family land, the struggle to keep rural hospitals open so a zip code doesn't decide if you live or die, and the uncertainty in the energy industry that has our coal and oil workers wondering if the country still values the sweat they put in to keep the lights on. Wyoming is known as the equality state because you were the first to recognize that a citizen's right to vote shouldn't depend on their gender. That name is a tribute to a legacy of fairness and being ahead of the curve, yet it feels as if that legacy of independence is being squeezed by outside interests while the people who actually live here are being told to just make do with less. It is Wyomingites who are still doing the ranching, the mining, and the teaching. I'm standing in front of the Wyoming State Capitol. This building is a stunning example of Renaissance Revival architecture, built with native sandstone from Rawlins and topped with a dome covered in real gold leaf. The building was designed to represent the spirit of Wyoming. It's a bridge between the ancient legacy of the Cheyenne, Arapaho, and Shoshone nations and the rugged determination of the people who built a home here where the winter never quits. It stands as a centerpiece for a state that values its roots while looking straight at the horizon. It's easy to talk about Wyoming's beauty, but I'm more interested in Wyoming's people. If you want to represent Wyoming, you have to speak for the ranchers out in the basin and the crews working in the Union Pacific lines through a ground blizzard. The wind is tough, but the people here are tougher. There is a straight line from the folks heritage breeding cattle to the ones working the tech hubs and the refineries. It's one shared soul, a soul that knows how to stand its ground and keep moving forward no matter what. To be the leader of the whole country, you have to actually know the whole country. You have to marvel at the Grand Tetons, admire the views along the Pacific Coast Highway, cross the mighty Mississippi, and visit the beautiful Smoky Mountains. You cannot lead a people you do not know, and you cannot know the people from inside a high-flying jet, a speeding motorcade, or a gilded office in D.C. Having lived in 7 states and visited all 50 at least once before, I think I have a glimmer of an understanding of who we, the people of the United States, are. But you can never stop learning. That's why I'm visiting each state again and why I will continue to do so both during my campaign and during my time in office. Now, you might be thinking, who is this guy? As I said, I'm Augustus. I was born in New York State 65 years ago. Like you, I've spent much of my life working. I've seen presidents and Congresses come and go, and industries rise and fall. And I've watched as the people who keep this nation functioning, the nurses at Cheyenne Regional, the crews maintaining I-80, and the staff at your local grocery store, are treated like cattle or sheep, not human beings. You may be asking yourself, is he qualified? The Constitution says I am. To me, being qualified means working as hard as I can to help the most people possible. You need to decide for yourself what qualified means to you. Think about the people who meet in this capital or in Washington, D.C. How many of them are qualified in your eyes? How many of them are working to make your utility bills manageable or your fuel prices affordable? It seems to me that many representatives have forgotten the primary requirements of their jobs, remembering who they work for. They shouldn't represent the lobbyists. They shouldn't represent their party, and they definitely should not represent the ultra-rich. Your representatives and the President of the United States should represent you, period. I stand for the people, not for corporations that treat employees like disposable parts, not for the rich and ultra-rich who treat the law as a suggestion, and not for the special interests who think their way is the only way. I believe in a land of freedom and opportunity, not a land where out-of-state investors push families out of the towns they've called home for generations. Why consider an unaffiliated, unconventional candidate like me? Maybe because you're exhausted of having to choose between generic candidate A and generic candidate B, neither of whom has had to decide between a grocery bill and a mortgage payment. While a vote for a candidate who isn't a member of one of the 2 major parties can be scary, isn't it scarier to have to choose between bad and worse? Choose to vote for someone who will actually work to make your lives better. Vote from compassion, not fear. The motto of Wyoming is equal rights. It's a phrase that speaks to the very heart of this state and its hardworking people. Sadly, it feels like the only thing being equal lately is the struggle of regular people, while the rich and ultra rich profit off your hard work. It's time to ensure that the prosperity of the state reaches the people working two jobs just to put food on the table and a roof over their heads. I'm headed to Pierre, South Dakota next. I have many capitals and many miles ahead of me. If you see me in your state, don't just take a picture, come over and say hello. Tell me what's keeping you up at night. Tell me what you want for your children. I'm Augustus, and I'm here to listen. I'll see you in the state where you live. Gary, why isn't this moving? Why aren't you moving? Boop. And a roof over their heads. Boop. Like disposal. Just on a side note, it was gusting at 65 miles an hour as I was driving here. The building was boop, boop,